The literature on the incipience of the Soviet Union spells out very clearly that Western banks had a heavy hand in financing the Bolsheviks and that system. Well, I shouldn't say the Bolsheviks because, as they've done over and over again, they financed all sides of that conflict. Now, you mentioned, Jeff, that we don't really need to try to bring down this system. So do you support the ideas of a Ron Paul? Do you support voting for Ron Paul? He obviously has made headlines here, and I think that although most of them have been bad and painted him in a negative light, if you were to go on YouTube and watch a lot of his videos, he really is educating along the lines of reasoning that people like you and me believe in.
Absolutely. He's the only U.S. politician who's actually honest and actually believes in freedom. All of the other guys, Mitt Romney and all of those people, they're all your typical puppet status. And, you know, they haven't even read the U.S. Constitution. They actually laugh at Ron Paul because, they know that's what Ron Paul is. He's a constitutionalist, which basically means he's a minarchist. He's a small government, very, very small. So in the sense that government would only have control over self-defense from attack from other countries, police force, and a court system, and that's all the government would have involvement in. That's all the government was supposed to have involvement in the U.S. under the Constitution. But over the years, that obviously all got changed, and it's gotten to the point now where they laugh at Ron Paul because he believes in the Constitution in the U.S. So it's totally skewed, and that's actually a reason why I don't believe at all in the political process. I think the U.S. is proof in point that even the most perfectly constructed republic will eventually get completely overthrown and turned into a massive government. All governments start small and end up big, and that's why I don't think we should even have governments. In fact, I would actually propose that we should have more governments. We should have 7 billion governments. We should all be our own government. And in that state of affairs, we would never have wars again. We'd have a huge amount of prosperity and all those sort of things because we don't need government. We can actually do all those things. But to get back to your point, Ron Paul, definitely highly respect the man. He's very principled, the only principled politician I've ever known. Basically, if it goes against what's in the Constitution, then he votes no on it. And if it goes for what's in the Constitution, he votes yes. And that's as good as you can actually expect or hope for in a politician. He's the only one who does it. I don't think he's going to win, unfortunately, but he's definitely waking up a lot of people to the things we've been talking about freedom and about how the U.S. government has been completely taken over. It's just a big criminal organization at this point, and he's the only one saying anything rational, anything logical, and it's just so funny that the mainstream media just tries to ignore him or tries to basically make him go away. They just basically don't even want to talk about him because the mainstream media is one and the same with the government now. They basically just repeat government press releases. They're basically, propaganda arm of the government, the mainstream media at this point. So interesting, and I definitely support Ron Paul. I don't support the political process very much. I don't think even if he gets in, he'll be able to change too much with the way that things are currently structured. But I'm very glad to see him speaking up against what's going on out there today in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly important to delineate between the president and the presidency. And the presidency is controlled no matter what the opinions of the individual who is president is concerned. I've spoken with a lot of people on this topic, voting, and some people say that it's immoral to vote within the confines of an immoral and unjust system. And I think I would amend that a little bit and say it's immoral to think that voting within this system would make a difference. I think the difference being that the more press that we can get Ron Paul YouTube videos in particular, not necessarily what he says in the mainstream because obviously he is limited, more people I think will be introduced to the idea of freedom and individual rights, not women's rights or gay rights or black rights, but the rights of the individual, like you said, the only true form of government. Something else I've noticed on the internet that is a little bit of a phenomenon is that Paul and Chomsky are able to sort of unite people who within this left-right paradigm are on the left and on the right. So you have people who are following Chomsky because they have maybe socialist, communist tendencies. They don't quite understand his brand of anarchy. And then people on the far right who maybe just identify themselves as staunch capitalists or libertarians. On the internet, these two worlds are beginning to sort of meet, which I think portends well for the future of the unity within the freedom movement generally.
Yes, I would agree with that. A lot of people don't realize that all the left and right is two wings of statism. There actually is another choice, and the U.S. government does not want you to know. The other choice is libertarianism, or basically believing in freedom, believing the government has no role in your life, either economically or to tell you what to do, whether it's drugs or any of those sort of things. So they try to keep that as quiet as possible. And I think as well, you brought up a good point with Chomsky and Paul. I think what we're going to see in 2012 is probably some sort of a merging of the Occupy Wall Street, which are mostly leftist-leaning because they're mostly confused. They go to these, leftist statist universities and schools their whole life, so they don't really know what's going on. But and I think we'll see that merge with more of the Tea Party types, who are more the right wing or freedom-leaning sort of people. So yeah, we're starting to see an awakening, and I think it's because of the internet. I think before the internet, there's no hope for us. I'd just go and live on an island and hope they can start up some space colonies or something if there was no internet. But I think thanks to the internet, we have some opportunity as people and as individuals for freedom.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to begin wrapping this up, Jeff. Domestically speaking, without people being able to get second passports, how can one protect him or herself from the economic uncertainties, collapse itself? Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, definitely. One of them, obviously, is precious metals, hard assets. All of these governments, Ben Bernanke, the euro, they're all in the process of destroying their currency. So at that point in time, you want to own anything that they can't print. And so any hard asset, but the most well-known, the most time-honored hard assets are gold and silver. It's recognized everywhere in the world as much. So definitely own that. I recommend also to, if you're the kind of person who has the risk appetite, to own some gold and silver stocks. But one thing very important to keep in mind is we're expecting a lot of brokerages to collapse because they're highly leveraged, and as these debts all come due, bonds, these sort of things, as nations collapse, a lot of these brokerages will collapse. So what you want to do is make sure you register your shares. And we just put out a product called Bulletproof Shares, and you can see that at tdv.bulletproof.com. It's just a way to register your shares. So even if your brokerage collapses like MF Global, you can still retain ownership of those shares. So even if your brokerage collapses, you'll still own your stock, whereas if you don't register them, you will not. And thirdly, the other thing is to make sure, if you can, ability to get some sort of second passport. And again, we offer one quite easy to get in the Dominican Republic, and you can get that off our website as well. Just go to $Vigilante.com, and right on the top, just click on Dominican Passport.
Excellent. I think also it's important for people to have a few weeks of food at home. We had the power go out here in Southern California within the last 3 months, and it was amazing how many people did not even have food in their home enough for one meal. That's one meal. So the power went out, and they had no food. It's important to have a few weeks of food at home, or maybe more if you feel more comfortable. Water especially, of course. And this might seem a little bit trite, but in places like the Soviet Union where they've had currency collapses, everything passed as money. And so if you're buying gold and silver, might as well, when you go get a coffee at Starbucks, take 10 or so of the sugar packets there, because it'll keep forever, and it very well one day might be able to be used as currency. I know that each one of those wholesales for about 16 cents a packet. One day, very soon, Jeff, I don't think you're going to be able to get free sugar. It will obviously a charge will be associated with that.
I go to Starbucks every day, so I have to keep that one in mind.
It's a thought. Anyway, any other things you want to run by us as far as services provided by the $Vigilante.com?
Not too much. I think we said most of them. I just want to agree with you, Justin, that that's another thing that we recommend is store up some food as these systems start to collapse. And they will collapse. We actually almost had it collapse in 2008. And actually the transportation system almost stopped in 2008. And that would mean that very quickly there wouldn't be food in the grocery store. So stock up, be prepared. I know it sounds crazy, but this is just the way it is right now. And just be prepared. It's actually not too crazy. It's just being take control of your own self and be prepared for the collapse of this system. And we write a blog on my website. It's dollarvigilante.com, and you just put your email address right in the front page, and these are the sort of topics we talk about on our blog.
Oh, excellent, Jeff. And I wanted to say that when the power went out in Southern California, it wasn't a matter of the stores running out of food. They just closed down right away. As soon as the power went down, they were closed. Anyway, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us on Liberty Coin and Precious Metals Radio. I hope that we can speak again in the very near future. I think we'll be in touch. And again, your website is thedollarvigilante.com. We're at libertycpm.com. Again, Jeff, thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future. And thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
You too.